The morning that changed Rowan Mercer's life began with a choice no one should ever have to make. One road led toward the interview that could finally lift his little family out of years of struggle. The other led toward a stranger lying unconscious on a crowded sidewalk while hundreds of people hurried past as if she were invisible. Rowan looked at the clock, thought about the rent that was already overdue, thought about his 8-year-old son waiting at school, and then did something that would seem impossible to anyone chasing success. He walked away from the opportunity he had spent months preparing for and ran toward the stranger instead, never imagining that before sunset, the woman he saved would completely rewrite the future he thought he had already lost. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness always comes back in unexpected ways and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. The sun had barely climbed above the skyline when Rowan left his small apartment holding a worn leather folder filled with certificates, recommendation letters, and the carefully printed resume he had rewritten more times than he could count. Every crease in his only suit reminded him of the years he had spent working temporary construction jobs, warehouse shifts, and delivery routes after losing his stable career during an economic downturn. Becoming a single father had never been part of his plans, but after tragedy changed everything, every decision he made revolved around giving his son, Owen, a childhood filled with love even if money was painfully scarce. Rowan skipped meals so Owen could have healthier lunches. He repaired old toys instead of buying new ones. Every evening he helped with homework before studying late into the night for certifications that might open another door. This interview represented more than a paycheck. It represented dignity, security, and the chance to finally stop telling his son that better days would come someday. As he crossed the busy downtown intersection, the city moved with its usual rhythm. Office workers hurried with coffee cups, taxis honked impatiently, and buses released crowds of commuters onto the sidewalks. Rowan checked the time again. He still had enough minutes to arrive early, exactly as he had planned. Then everything changed in an instant. Just ahead of him, a well-dressed woman stumbled near the curb before collapsing hard onto the pavement. Her briefcase slid into the street while papers scattered in the wind. People slowed for only a second before continuing on their way, assuming someone else would help. Rowan did not hesitate. He dropped his folder onto a nearby bench and rushed to her side. The woman's breathing was shallow, and a small cut on her forehead had begun to bleed. Rowan remembered the first aid course he had completed years earlier at work. He called emergency services, spoke calmly with the dispatcher, and stayed beside the stranger while trying to keep her comfortable. Every passing minute felt heavier than the last because he knew exactly what he was sacrificing. The interview time drew closer. His phone buzzed twice with reminder notifications. He ignored both. When the ambulance finally arrived, the paramedics thanked Rowan for remaining with her. They explained that his quick response had likely prevented the situation from becoming far more serious because the woman appeared to be suffering from severe dehydration combined with exhaustion. As they prepared to leave, one paramedic asked whether Rowan was a family member. He quietly shook his head. He simply replied that nobody else had stopped. Only after the ambulance disappeared into traffic did Rowan notice the time. His interview had started 15 minutes earlier. For several long seconds he stood motionless on the sidewalk, staring at the folder that now lay slightly bent from being stepped on by hurried strangers. Months of preparation had vanished in a single morning. Still, despite the disappointment pressing against his heart, he could not convince himself he had made the wrong decision. Somewhere inside the ambulance was a woman who was alive because someone finally cared enough to stop. When Rowan reached the company's headquarters nearly an hour late, the receptionist apologized kindly but explained that the interview panel had already selected another candidate. Company policy did not allow rescheduling for executive trainee positions because hundreds of applicants had competed for only one opening. Rowan thanked her politely even though every word felt heavier than the last. He walked back outside into the bright afternoon sun carrying nothing except quiet disappointment.